What is going on, everybody, man? Can't believe this. Me and Bashar were talking on the phone the other day about how we don't like to really stream when there's nothing going on. Well, there's definitely something going on. It's time. It's that time of the off season. Training camp season won't be too far ahead of us. So before we get into all the talking and stuff, I just want to ask Bashar how he's doing. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me on. So training camp's finally kicking in. They're going to put the pads on Monday, and yeah, definitely some things to talk about. I'll be honest, my excitement level is still. I'm breaking out of hibernation mode. Let's just say that I hibernated for a good majority of the off season, and haven't really been talking Niners much. And but now there's actually something real to talk about. So I'm still not in full regular season mode just yet, but eventually I'll get there. It's a work in progress.
It is like hibernation for all of you who watch, especially after another Super Bowl loss. It was like anything that can just get me away from talking about football. Yeah, it would be nice. But I mean, we both have YouTube channels. 49er YouTube is alive and well all year round. Off season, people are streaming all the time. So it's actually that point of the year where there's actually some real concrete, like, something you can sink your teeth into with training camp starting. It's training camp doesn't have it hasn't it's I'm going to try to say this. Let me stop myself. Training camp definitely has its share of questions and concerns as it starts, with mainly two big pieces if we are going to go on a Super Bowl run that we need to have on the roster, and that is Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. And I figure that's where we'll start it. I find it interesting, Bashar, that he's not signed Brandon Ayuk, but yet he's been on the field the last couple of days with GM John Lynch. Does that give you any type of uh, like, just excitement that maybe a deal is coming, or is he just doing the right thing by being there, and maybe it'll do him well if they decide to trade him? I don't know. Like, what is your overall view of Brandon Ayuk being out there talking to John Lynch?
It tells me that whole trade scenario that everybody was speaking about, like, oh, Brandon Ayuk officially requested a trade, and some Niner fans were panicking and pulling the hair out, and tells me all that was just BS. That's the best way to say it. And he really, really wanted to be traded, unless he's just playing the political game of, hey, I'm just trying to be a good citizen, a good sport about it, and I don't want to get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined. The Marshawn Lynch approach, so to speak. I mean, I think he's coming back. Most Niner fans think he's coming back. If they threw that trade scenario out there, hey, trade, I'm demanding a trade officially. It was just part of the probably leverage of the last thing they could throw at management for negotiation. But I mean, out of all people, the guy who was the least positive about this team, more so than anybody else, Grant Cohn, the other day said, expect the deal to get done sometime this weekend. So I don't know. I wasn't expecting anything to be done that soon if something does get done, but I do see something happening pretty soon. Maybe by the end of next week, for all I know. Who knows, man? Shout out to Keeping the Faith. He's in the chat. A good friend of mine. He says, bang, bang. Can't wait to be at camp tomorrow. He's going to be at camp tomorrow. Okay, cool,
Nice.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool, man.
Have fun with that. I'm on the East Coast, so if I ever had to go to training camp, it would have to be like this really drawn out, thought out thing. So if I'm going to make a West Coast trip, I'm probably going to go to a game.
Yeah. Usually they only charge, I believe, like $5 for training camp tickets. And I believe this year they're charging $25. So, or maybe 20, something around there. They definitely upped the prices, which is pretty crazy, but yeah, go figure.
Well, we also had some news of Trent Williams not reporting. Now, Brandon Ayuk is doing what they call the hold in, which is he's holding out, but he's at the facility, but he's just not participating. Trent Williams is doing the good old fashioned, you ain't paying me, I ain't showing up type thing, which I thought they took care of in the offseason. Didn't you get that idea that they took care of that? Remember the report in the offseason that, he was looking to get a little bit more money or some sort of extension, because he's not owed any more guaranteed money anymore. So he's got 3 years. I think he's got 3 years left. And I find it funny that all of a sudden he wants to get paid too, but I guess that's how these things go. One guy gets paid, another guy's like, hey, I'm underpaid. And then, hey, I'm underpaid. So I was very surprised that he hasn't been there. Then again, knowing his injury history and his age, are we really too worried about Trent Williams not being at the first 2 days of camp? I'm not really too concerned. What was your thought about Trent Williams being part of this this report.
You know what? With me being a Niner fan, it's almost like, not that I'm saying expect the worst, but as far as players asking for money on this team, nothing's ever a surprise to me anymore. It just everything just keeps piling on. Like, Ayuk wants a contract, CMC wants a contract, now Trent Williams, and it just never. Juwan Jennings, it just never ends. So, supposedly, from what a good friend was telling me, that they could possibly free up some money in the cap space some way, somehow. If they get this deal done, that could possibly benefit us that way. I don't know how that works. I'm not a cap expert at all, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah. It's keeping the face as contracts mean nothing anymore.
They don't. Nobody honors them. Even teams don't honor them. So it's not just the players. Teams don't really honor contracts either. It's a bunch of fake money being thrown around. The only money that really counts in contracts, Bashar, is guaranteed money. That's it.
There you
Whatever
go.
they give you in the beginning of that contract is the money that's guaranteed. Anything else is just like make believe monopoly money. Like I was looking at and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but the kind of the estimate or kind of like a ballpark figure of what the Brock Purdy contract might be. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like it looks too good to be true. It's not as much as say like Patrick Mahomes when he got paid, but it's pretty healthy, hefty deal. And like you said, it's nobody honors them, organizations or players. So to me, it's just monopoly money. But if I could just get a guaranteed amount of money from a contract, I could live off that. Like I wouldn't even spend the contract. I would just say, "Oh, I'm getting 50 million guaranteed. Boom, I'm set." And then whatever I get later in my career or down the road, I'd live cheap. I live in like a 6-bedroom house. That's it.
You say that now, but you'd splurge some way or another if you had that kind of money, because it's money you've never ever seen before.
Setup. I'd have the perfect YouTube setup and like an 80-inch TV. That's pretty much it. And like the best surround sound man can buy. Like I would have a full-on man cave, like a real man cave. So we got East Coast Red and Gold in the podcast. Hey, hello. How's it going? Your channel always bringing in the great guest. And I mean that absolutely 100%. I think they had Brent Jones on.
Oh, they did.
Last week
I
or
missed
the week
that.
before. Yeah.
Okay. I've been behind with following
all the
people's
crazy
channels.
ones.
Yeah, I'm just now starting to watch more Niner content. Like I told you guys, I was in hibernation mode. Sure, I followed the draft and all that, but I wanted to do a lot of pre-draft stuff, and I wasn't able to. I had some health issues earlier this year and spent some time in the hospital. So when all that pre-draft stuff was going on, I wasn't even able to get going and do my own stuff. But I did watch people's shows and definitely followed, and I just took a break of following a lot of Niner stuff in general recently, though. But definitely back at it, I'll be watching people's channels. Just see me in the chats.
John Crazy says he was at day 2. Hey, John, if you want,
he was there. Okay.
Anything stand out from you from day 2? You can put it down in the comments. We'll read it. That's always interesting because, like I said, I'm an East Coast guy, so I ain't going to Niners training camp ever. So thank you very much. I appreciate that, Jess. Thank you very much. Good to see you as well.
Yeah,
one of the many
likewise.
49er channels out there of the like 50 that are on YouTube. So yeah, let's go to something that we kind of I guess we should be used to by now. I was looking at some of the media stuff surrounding the 49ers, and of course the Brock Purdy disrespect is in full effect. Colin Cowherd, to name a few other people. ESPN has they have all these polls of like the top 10 quarterbacks. Of course, Brock Purdy is nowhere near the top 10. Did you think that we were in the clear this year with that? Or did you think it was, are you surprised that it's back, that they're disrespecting him like they are? Or is that just going to keep going until who knows when?
Yeah, a lot of anti-Niner things that go on in the media don't surprise me anymore. Like I told you, I'm almost at the point where I'm expecting the worst, but again, it's these are things that don't give me headaches or don't make me lose sleep at night at the same time. But keep in mind, I definitely saw a lot of videos popping up on my feeds that said, "Hey, this is what so-and-so thinks of Brock Purdy. Click on it." And honestly, I was just like, I don't even care, because I don't care what this guy thinks, whether it's bad or good. It doesn't, I didn't even watch the Cowherd video. I was kind of curious to see what he'd say, but then again, I wasn't, because
I didn't either. I saw the thumbnail and that was enough for me.
Yeah. For me, I already know he's good. So, everybody at this point in time who really, really knows their football should already know he's good. Doesn't matter who you wanted to be a quarterback beforehand. Sure, I supported Trey Lance because we gave up the whole farm for the guy, and I thought there was some potential there, but it's not the direction we went in for obviously good reasons, because we found somebody that we did not expect to be as good as he is, and he's taken us to great places, and I think we can do even better things in the future with Brock Purdy. I really do. So I'm not worried about. Not sure. For me, I give him a top 10 ranking, right? 8, 7. I don't know. I don't know what number to give him exactly. I definitely don't have him in the top 5, but he can approach top 5 status this year. Assuming he plays better, assuming he works on a few things, and but I'm just happy that we have this guy who's in the conversation of top 10 quarterback. Sure, some guys may not rate him that high because maybe they don't like the 49ers, or maybe they don't like his style, or maybe they just don't see what we see. For whatever reason it may be. I just know as a Niner fan, I feel good with what I see on the field with him, and we should possibly see better things in the future. So that's it.
We have Jim Everett the Great here, Rams fan. Always repping in all the Niner chats. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for giving me a view. I appreciate it. We have Big John V in the house.
John V.
A man whose passion is hard to replicate. So thanks for coming through, big man. I know you're a busy guy with the restaurant and everything. So thanks for coming through, dude. Forgot. John Crazy said that he got a lot of signatures at camp. Where is it? Says, I like the signatures. To be honest, I got all the signatures.
Oh, okay, cool. Who'd you meet? Let's hear.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to hear what you met.
Yeah.
Who you met.
One thing for me though, I'm honestly like at the point where I don't really care that much for signatures anymore. But if I do get a photo opportunity, there you go. I'll be a happy guy.
Yeah, I've never had a signature or an autograph or any of that stuff. And I could go get some stuff, if the Niners play them, the Niners play the Bills, but I don't think that's going to happen. But to go back to what we were talking about with the quarterback, so the snippet that I saw, the thumbnail that I saw, I didn't watch the video either because I would, why stress myself, right? Was essentially Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy are the same quarterback, and they just put up the stats. We all know that means a lot of people that criticize Brock, they don't watch games. You just know they don't watch games, because if they watch games the way we watch games, we would see like, man, it is such a drastic difference between the two of them, right? The accuracy, Brock doesn't make half the amount of mistakes, the mental mistakes, the just egregious overthrows, the hospital balls, all that stuff. So anytime I see something like that, I just automatically say they don't watch games. I don't know what's your feeling about that? Are you kind of in the same ballpark?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what games do these people watch? It's just weird though, because when you think when you sat and watched all the 49er games that Jimmy Garoppolo has played, and all the games that's Purdy's watched, all of us have watched every single game pretty much of those guys have played in their 49er careers, and without looking at any stat line, it's clear as day to say this guy is at least 2 notches better than that guy. I think it's very easy to say that. And
Absolutely.
but then when I would never think to say, hey, let me pull up their stats and compare them, because I already know who's better. I don't care about doing that. But let's just say I did. My eyes would be like, whoa, why are these stats looking a little bit more similar than I thought they would? But at the end of the day, man, if you watch the games, you'll know who's the better quarterback. You'll know they made the right decision. And we all saw what Jimmy tried to do in I was gonna say, Las Vegas. Yeah. Who was that? Devontae Adams. I didn't watch the whole thing of the receiver. I don't have Netflix, but I did see a clip that somebody shared online of Devontae Adams, and he had a lot of kind words to say about Jimmy during the game. It was kind of funny. So
yeah, he pretty much said, because I watched the whole thing and I was just like captivated by that whole Devontae Adams, Jimmy Garoppolo thing. He says is, I've never been hit so much in my life. I need to get out of here. He's like, I'm going to lose my life. Dude, Jimmy's bad. He's really bad.
Wait, who was saying they got hit too much?
Devontae Adams was saying,
really?
Like, I'm getting hit way too much. I haven't been hit this much in my life. He goes, I need to get out of here before I lose my life. And he like, I don't think we realized how much deodorant, how much potpourri and all that other stuff he surrounded Jimmy Garoppolo by to cover over the stink that was Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, it was bad. And you saw it in like the playoffs when in 2019 the two games, like Jimmy barely threw a pass. Kyle let him throw the ball around, saw that he couldn't handle the pressure, and immediately just ran the ball for the next 2 games until we got to the Super Bowl. So
and how many arguments did we get in with people
all the time
who swore Jimmy G was this great quarterback that 49er fans are going to feel sorry when they get rid of him? It's like, dude, did you not notice that he barely ever threw any passes in this game, and we won that Green Bay Packer playoff game because Raheem Mostert had a career day?
Yeah, it was all about Raheem Mostert in the run game, and you can't depend on that when you go against Kansas City, teams like Kansas City who throw the ball all the 50 times a game.
That team's name anytime soon.
I know. I'm still sour over it. There's been some camp injuries that have happened. One in particular, Isaac Guerrero, running back, had some issues in college with hamstrings, and sure enough, he's dinged up. And then, of course, we got Ricky Pearsall, who injured himself away from 49er headquarters. But it looks like, from what Kyle said, he's going to be ready for the second block of training camp practices. So whatever ones we have now, and then they take a break, and then there's another set of practices. That's when he expects him, hopefully, to be back. Any concerns with the injuries? I'm a little bit concerned about Pearsall just because of what this training camp and this season could mean for him, with the way that the contracts are right now, and where we could be going if we have to, like, say, part ways with a Deebo Samuel.
I'm not worried about Pearsall as far as the injury, because they said he is doing some running on the sidelines today, and the Nick Wagner reported that he doesn't look like he's too far away from returning. So, as far as him progressing and him being good enough to get reps and be a substantial piece in this offense, I'm not going to say he's going to be that guy right away. I hope he can be that guy, because we did spend a first round pick on him. I'll be at the end of the first round, but yeah, I mean, I'm not that. I'm not that one of those Niner fans that think that's going to jump and say, "Hey, it was a terrible pick. Hey, we reached on him." We don't know. A lot of people said that, but I'm willing to give the guy a shot at the same time too. From what I hear, he's a great route runner, or supposed to be a great route runner, and from what I hear, I know Raj was saying this the other day that he kind of does work a little too hard. Maybe he tries a little too hard, so he worked himself a little too hard. And
I've heard that. I heard the exact same report. Yep.
Yeah, so he tweaked something. So maybe he just got to learn to slow down a little bit when it comes to doing certain type of drills or doing certain type of workouts, just to preserve his body. So we'll see. I really hope he does pan out. I want him and Jacob Cowing to be a nice piece, basically be a nice part of our offense. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go back to the Ayuk thing, as we touched on it, but we didn't really go too heavy on it. The Niners are in a position right now where they're coming up on some decisions. And those decisions are, just do we give a contract to Brandon Ayuk? Does he play on his 5th-year option? And then does Deebo Samuel, is he going to be here past this year? Like, all those things are real questions. So with all these 2 young receivers that have a chance, hopefully, to make a mark for themselves, is really indicative of what the 49ers are going to do down the road, especially after this season. I know we don't want to think about next offseason, but you always have to, because the organization is the way they draft, the way that they, stock up on certain positions. There's always that possibility that they move on from a certain player, like they did in 2020 with DeForest Buckner. We went and we drafted, of course, Javon Kinlaw, who was horrible, never worked out, always hurt. And we ended up having to go out and pay for Javon Hargrave. So I think it's really indicative, whatever happens training camp wise and preseason and even into the regular season, what the Niners do the following offseason. I don't know if you feel similar.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are hinting that we may not bring Deebo back. So therefore, they did draft 2 wide receivers. And who knows, maybe we possibly may draft another wide receiver next year, or maybe Danny Gray finally steps up. Heard a couple of good things about him early in camp. So he actually caught a deep crosser today from Brock Purdy. So take that for all it's worth. They're not wearing pads. I get it. It's practice. We're talking about practice, as Allen Iverson would say. But, I was really high on Danny Gray when we got him, and it's been pretty disappointing so far. So maybe he finds a way to put it together and gives us more depth. It'd be nice to have some speed out there. Pearsall's got speed. Cowan's got speed. So I do like to get younger and faster, as they say.
Right. No, I'm always looking to the future. I think it's important to build your team up to where there's always a successor coming down the line. The Niners have like really tried with tight end, and it sounds like Cam Latu is in the doghouse for sure. And George Kittle once again is probably going to be the lone real important guy on that offense. I know that we signed, I forget the tight end that we signed in the offseason, veteran, which is probably one of the better tight ends we've had in a while. I forget his name, but I mean, they've been trying to do it at tight end too, and it just hasn't worked out. They haven't found that one guy that's going to take over for Kittle down the road. So that's just how I look at stuff. I look at things through the eyes of, say, like Bill Walsh back in the day, where like they were always drafting the replacement for the guy who is currently playing. Logan Thomas, thank you very much. And hello, Talofa Faithful. Appreciate you coming through. Jason Captain Niner Massey, thank you for coming through. Appreciate it. Hey, if you guys are if you're on Twitter, come on to YouTube. It'd be really appreciated. I see that we got some people, but most of them are on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, why don't you come over? Join the chat on YouTube. I'd much appreciate it. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you can. That would be awesome. Another thing going on right now is just the fact that let me go back before I talk about what I want to talk about. So I don't know if you noticed. I know fans have noticed. A certain player that's no longer with us is already hurt with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if you saw the report of Eric Armstead already on the PUP list in Jacksonville. Me and Raj were talking about it and why this is exactly why the Niners moved on from him. The fact that he's always hurt and he wanted to get paid all this money, but yet he's not always on the field. So did you see that report? And if you did, what'd you think of it?
I definitely saw the report. I just didn't read it twice, so I totally forgot what kind of injury it was. I'm assuming it's a foot or leg injury of some sort. I don't want to go. Obviously, it's a low-hanging fruit that we're picking on right here in terms of picking on Eric Armstead for his injuries, because he has plenty of them in his history as a 49er and now, I guess, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll put it this way. I feel much better as far as allocating our money to other players on the D-line rather than just having it thrown into all one player. So we got Jordan Elliott, Malik Collins in the mix from the Texans. So we got Kalia Davis waiting in the wings. I'm kind of excited to see him. So hopefully the D-line finds a way to pull it out minus Eric Armstead. And we got to have Javon Hargrave step up. I hear he's been working pretty hard at his craft. So I definitely want to see what he can do with just with a better offseason. So let's see. Let's check it out.
I guess he got hurt early in the offseason or early in the season last year. And he said he was never really ever to regain his previous form. Yeah, I mean, Malik Collins, the report is he looks really explosive in camp too, the defensive lineman. You're right. It was like they, instead of paying one guy, it's funny, like I kind of said something like that towards the end of the season or into the off season about, take one guy's salary and split it three ways, so to speak, to get more depth. So you're not so top heavy. Because the Niners, I would say last year or maybe the year before were a little bit top heavy. Like you had your forward main defensive lineman, but if any of them go down, you have problems. And now this year we have Malik Collins, Gross
Matos, yeah.
Leonard Floyd, who I guess dinged himself up on his first pass rush drill of camp. Everyone was worried, but he came back in. So thank goodness with that. But yeah, they were able essentially to kind of put themselves in a position to have a little bit more depth. So that's really awesome. But it's so early in training camp right now. Bash, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as usual, Bosa made a really, really strong impression today in camp from what I've been hearing. He's just dominating left and right. Nobody could block him, including Feliciano not Feliciano, McKivitz, who I don't have any faith in, but he's still our right tackle. Yeah, but Yetur Gross-Matos actually had a pretty good. Matos had a good practice today in the run and pass game, so maybe he could be a good guy in the rotation as well. So it's just nice. I just think better options into overall with depth at that position with guys that you're going to rotate. And sure, Armstead's been with the team for a long, long time, and he's 6'8". I get all that, but I just think I think the ship has sailed with Armstead, and I think we went. I think it happened at the perfect time because we were able to pick up some pieces that are pretty damn good depth pieces that we can rotate. And I think we could possibly do better with a D line than we did last year.
Yep, I believe that too. And you're right. Kalia Davis is a player that hasn't really shined yet in the NFL. So that would be interesting to see if he can make some sort of jump. I know we're talking about defensive line, but I want to jump over to the secondary. And everybody's been talking about the safety that we drafted this year. Tell me why I can't remember his name right now. He's a really big yoked guy.
Malik Mustafa.
I think
Mustafa's the more proper way to say it. Mustafa's the American.
Okay, okay. So
everybody says Mustafa because they think of Mustafa for like you know.
Of course. No, you're right, because when people say stuff wrong in Italian, I'm always quick to correcting them. I'm like, actually,
and it's like saying Languini, or I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been hearing a lot of reports on him. A lot of people saying that he looks like a player that's just playing and not thinking. And I find it ironic because if you think about it, at safety, we're really not set in the safety department because of the injury last year to Talanoa Hufanga. And then T. Gip is not with the team anymore. And even if he wanted to be, he's suspended for like the first half of the season. So the Niners have a lot of question marks at safety. Would you be comfortable with a rookie playing in the secondary if he's that impressive with the 49ers? Or would you go with the Jair Brown, Talanoa Hufanga route?
Well, Jair Brown, I definitely have him in there. I mean, so far to start off camp, they have Jair Brown and George Odom as a starters. George Odom to me is more of a special teamer. Yep. Not that I think he's a terrible player to mix in the mix, but like it's funny because like we seem to be prepared for this whole safety switch over because we didn't have Ty Gibson coming back, and I almost wish they'd do this with the tackles. You know, just be more just to be what can't I think of the word right now. But just to be more aware of your situation and be prepared more for what's going to happen in the future. See, just like with safety, we had the right idea, but with or tackle, we don't. Other than paying Trent Williams, of course. But yeah, I mean, Malik Mustafa's he had an interception the first day of practice, and even before the other days of practice, they're like, oh wow, this guy's built like a Greek god, but yet again he can move and he can cover and so we'll see. I mean, he sounds like he could be another Jair Brown type player. Perhaps, or we already got Hufanga in the mix. I don't know when exactly Hufanga's coming back. A lot of us are big fans of Hufanga, and I was really, really down and pretty pissed off when he got hurt. But then again, we almost didn't skip a beat because Jair Brown did a really, really nice job of stepping in there. But then again, other guys got to step up because we don't have Gibson anymore. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the duo works out. Everybody's assuming it should be Hufanga and Jair Brown, but you never know. Maybe Hufanga doesn't come out and doesn't come back in time, and maybe he's just not the same guy. Maybe Mustafa comes in and steps up and he plays well. A little bit of wishful thinking with that position, but we'll see how it goes. And sure, we do get rookies, and some people may not be easy about having rookies out there, but I just think in certain positions we tend to draft well, and I tend to not be too scared of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the Niners have an embarrassment of riches right now at safety. So, I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, especially if Hufanga comes back and is ready to go. Some of the best Niner teams in the past were deep all over the board. So, because one guy goes down, two guy goes down, it shouldn't derail a season. You should have people in the wings that are ready to step up and play. I mean, team like the Rams a couple of years ago who were so top heavy, and then a couple guys go down and then that's the end of it, right? The Niners I feel like they're a team that is winning and developing at the same time. At least that's what I think. And I think they're doing that at safety. Be interesting to see if they could do that at other positions. I know the cornerback position has a little bit of not say turnover, but like a little bit of movement going on with Staley, the coach, former coach of the Chargers, who's coming in, and I guess he's coaching them up. So it'd be interesting to see what goes on with this the secondary too as well. You mentioned special teams, and I figure we kind of go to special teams. So they're trying to figure out who the return man's going to be, And I guess already Danny Gray has a couple muff punts. No, excuse me, Ronnie Bell has a couple muff punts in camp. So we talk about all these other positions, but we always forget about special teams, but it's just as important. How concerned are you that like we got Trent Taylor, Ronnie Bell, Danny Gray back there fielding punts? No matter how good we are as a team, it seems like the special teams, especially punt returner, is always like an issue.
Yeah, special teams are anything but special if you're a 49er fan, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't want to bring up certain things that have happened in the past, but you can conjure up an image in your head and kind of get where I'm going with that. Yeah, what I heard today was that the Jacob Cowing also muffed the punt too. I know he's a rookie. Yeah, so did say that he had a couple of good catches in terms of playing receiver and had showed some right after the catch ability, so that part's good. But yeah, they did say that he muffed the punt. What worries me the most, honest to God, if Trent, yeah, thank you, thank you, John V. If Trent Taylor somehow finds a way to make this roster, all for the simple fact that he can catch a punt and not muff it, it's gonna piss me off because it basically tells me like, come on, guys, you got whoever we have that's a youngster that should step up to the plate didn't step up to the plate. It would be nice to get a bit of a return game going, but there some people are just saying, oh well, maybe the 49ers shouldn't even have a punt returner back there. They should just let the ball roll and wherever it may roll, and that's it. Call it a day and. Snap the ball at the 5-yard line if need be. Who knows, man? But I don't want Trent Taylor. I just don't want him. The ship has sailed with him long ago, and I don't know why we even bothered to bring him back. If he's watching, his relatives watching, sorry, nothing personal. I don't know, man. I just want what's best.
We know why they brought him back because he's best friends with George Kittle.
Oh, is that what it is?
They're like best buddies. They love each other. They're like, whatever.
Maybe they'll try Pearsall returning punts. Who knows? But I don't know if he ever did. I don't know if they had that in mind. But
yeah, John V said it. Kittle's best friend. Yeah, he's during the couple when they all first got here. Towards when we started kind of taking the turn and getting better. It was well documented. They were always at each other's weddings and hanging out in the off season, hanging out during the season. They were all kumbaya and everything. But to me, it's like, what do you do on the field? I could care less. I mean, you can be friends off the field, but that doesn't qualify you to be on this team if you suck. So I don't think the Niners will put him on this team if he's just here to be Kittle's, drinking buddy or whatever. I just they need to find somebody because I feel like special teams has been one of our bigger weaknesses in a very long time. I mean, this is going back to the Harbaugh years. I mean, have you ever had anybody electric back there really since maybe Dexter Carter back in the 90s?
Well, Ted Ginn. He
was okay.
I'd rather have Ted Ginn back there returning kicks than on Dexter Carter, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Dexter Carter was kind of small. Yeah, he's really little. I'm trying to think of something else that I saw today that is of
well, if this makes you feel any better about special teams, kicker Jake Moody is 8 for 8 within the past 2 days of camp. So there you go.
I said something on Twitter the other day that if I see anybody tracking completions that I don't like, I'm going to block you.
Out of all the reports I've read today, I haven't seen that yet, but maybe they have been doing it.
I love my guy Raj. There's a couple other guys that follow the Niners that I love. But if you're someone that I do not like and you post completion percentage in training camp, because I know Grant and other guys love to track all that stupidity, and they love to make, take all sorts of angles with it and make it out to be a story of like maybe Josh Dobbs is a better quarterback. You know how it goes with this fan base and these YouTubers, content guys that like they try to create something out of nothing. And sure enough, like last year they were tracking completion percentage and trying to make more out of it than it was. People were saying that Sam Darnold and Trey Lance looked better than Brock Purdy during training camp, and that we're in big trouble and all that other stuff that always gets thrown out there, all these agendas, all these narratives. I just think it's a waste of time. I think it's a waste of time to track all that stuff because you don't know what situation they're playing in. You don't know what they're trying to do or trying to accomplish on the practice field. Are they playing a hurry up style offense? Are they working on blitz pickup? Whatever. What are they doing? Like, everything is always without context. So I don't really care. I have a quarterback. His name is Brock Purdy. There's nothing anybody that can say or any narrative you can push, because people love to push narratives because it makes people watch. It does. It just does. All the big guys that make all the big money and make all the views on YouTube, it's all because of their divisive criticism. It gets people riled up and they want to watch. So more power to them. But I don't know. Do you feel the same way that, like, there's just way too much going into the criticism of some of these players? Oh,
Sorry, I had to unmute myself and I turned my camera off for a second. If it's a real true quarterback competition going on this team and there was uncertainty at the position, it would make more sense for beat writers to say, hey, this quarterback threw 2 touchdowns today and the other quarterback only threw 1, or he got picked off 3 times. But obviously in this case, it's well established who the quarterback is going to be. So if people are still doing that, I don't know. Maybe because they think people are interested in it. Most people at this stage shouldn't be. They already know what we have in Brock Purdy. And for the record, what he did today in practice, just to give people an idea, they said that he made a lot of completions with Bosa in his face, a lot. So that's good to hear. Bosa was in his face apparently repeatedly. Nobody can block the guy, but hey, Purdy was still making quick decisions out there, getting the ball out on time. The key throws that stood out, they said, to Braden Willis up the seam, and I also mentioned the deep crosser to Danny Gray earlier. Then there was a lucky bounce type throw where they said he tried to throw to Danny Gray, and he was trying to throw in the Chris Conley. It bounced off of Chris Conley's hands off of a deep route, and it went into tight end Eric Sobert's hands for a big game. But in general, they're saying Purdy looks pretty good. That's all I need to hear. We all know he's good. Supposedly he's bigger and stronger. I saw some pictures where his legs look closer to Bosa now. And he said he put on about 5 pounds of good weight. And he still maintained his quickness. So that's good. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in the games, but who knows if it really increases arm strength. Some people say you can't increase arm strength, or your quarterbacks can't increase accuracy or get more accurate. But certain quarterbacks work on certain things. And hey, over time they do improve those things. So we'll see. I mean, we all know Purdy's the guy. Who cares what other people think, or they want to track their stats in practice. If you may have a bad day in practice, big deal. They try new things in practice. If you ever played on a football team, you'd know that you don't just do the same thing over and over again. You try new things, and you're not always good at the first thing you learn or the new wrinkle. You're not always good right away. You may struggle a little bit, but then you get the hang of it 2 weeks later. So.
Listen, Joe Montana wasn't the starter solidly until the season that they won the Super Bowl. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. And he wasn't the great quarterback that we all saw later in his career, tear up the Broncos and have the drive against Cincinnati. He was a work in progress. And I think Brock Purdy is ahead of Steve Young and Montana, and just the fact that he's come right in. He's a 7th round pick, last pick in the draft. Took in an offense that everybody says you could just, navigate with your eyes closed. Jimmy couldn't navigate it with his eyes closed. So, like John V says, Purdy is peeing gold. Nobody's close. I just look at it like this, Bash. This is the first training camp off season in almost close to a decade, or maybe half a decade, where we're not talking about quarterback controversy. We have a guy, and it's amazing. Like last year was the injury. The year before was, Trey Lance was the guy, and then he got hurt and Jimmy got hurt and all that happened. To me, they say when you have more than one, you have none. Well, we have one, and he's really, really good. People are always going to look at all his physical or lack of physical things that he doesn't have. He doesn't have, elite size. He doesn't have, as some people like to say, elite speed. But I think he has deceptive speed, and he can play very well from the pocket, and he can also play very well outside the pocket. To me, if they're going to worry about anything, we need to worry about offensive line. Like, we do this every year where it's like, and my brother's a Dolphins fan. He's brought the same thing up. He's like, these teams are so focused on their playmakers and the guys that they have to get the ball to, and they continually like overlook the thing that always ends up biting them in the ass every single season, because it's a new season and we forgot about it and we're so focused on the next season. And then it's the same thing. Once again, it's offensive line. if there's any concern out there, it's this offensive line. Can they hold up all season? Can they protect Purdy and have him not get hurt? I hate to say it, but like if people think Josh Dobbs is going to come in and handle this team like Purdy is, I hate to say it, I don't think that's possible. So I'm just happy that there's an off season and now a preseason and training camp where we don't have quarterback controversy. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. But you did mention Josh Dobbs really quick. I want to touch on that. It's funny because like, we saw him last year and he did fairly well in spot duty. And
yeah,
a lot of us were thinking, I was thinking like, oh wow, it'd be so cool to have that guy as a backup quarterback on the Niners, too bad he's not a Niner. And then like we get him. And then the first thing we hear in mini camps and the early part of training camp is that he's terrible. So he's getting picked off. And I don't know if this offense is, I don't know if there's a big learning curve for him within this offense or, maybe he's just a gamer. He's just not a good practice player. He's always been a gamer. I don't know what his issue is, but hopefully we don't have to find out. In other words, Brock Purdy just stays healthy and all, Josh Dobbs does is hold the clipboard, which is fine with me. I have no problem with Josh Dobbs never, ever getting his jersey dirty ever. So, but O-line. Yeah. I played O-line in high school. I've pounded the table and cussed and screamed on various YouTube channels, including my own streams
or just when we're conversating by ourselves in real life.
Oh yeah. I mean, I try not to bring it up because I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it just sucks because, I feel like our hands are tied. I mean, it's like, okay, well, hey, Trent Williams obviously wants to be, wants his contract up and he wants more money, but other than Trent Williams, who do we really have out there? I mean, just, we all know how mediocre McKivitz is, and people were after the draft, they were trying to put a positive spin like, hey, well, you guys don't know. Maybe the 49ers know that McKivitz can get better and McKivitz is going to be better. And therefore these guys that were coming out in the draft, it doesn't matter because McKivitz is their man.
On it. They put a spin on it. I had a stream with Sterling Bennett, and essentially he said that the Niners have a lot of confidence in Colt McKivitz, that there's just something that they see in him that they believe he's good enough. And I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if that's
I don't know. Yeah.
Really? Who are you trying to convince? Us or yourself?
I'm a half glass full guy. Always been. But
we could take you out of retirement. We could take Fresno security guard out of retirement. You guys could both go block for the 49ers.
I've never been good enough to play in the NFL. I'll never say that ever. So I would love to be on the side that they're on and be like, well, you know what? No. I see people are missing something. He could totally get better. I wish I could be the guy that says that and just make everybody feel so much better about us not drafting any guys. And it just sucks. It really, really sucks. I just feel terrible as a Niner fan and watching these other teams, draft offensive linemen with all this upside, all this potential, and these badass offensive. Like, it just sucked watching that first round of the draft. It was terrible. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, literally it was like the first time in years where I believe it was like 8 tackles got drafted before we picked, or maybe it was 7 tackles. One of those two. In other words, it was way more tackles being drafted in this past draft, more so than any other draft that I've watched within the past 10 to 15 years. It may have been a record, actually, if anybody could look that up and correct me if I'm wrong on that one, feel free to. But I was, every time they announced a tackle's name, I was like, oh, I want that guy. Oh, I want that guy. It just sucked. And then when they said we picked a receiver, I was like, oh, do we really need a receiver? And then it is what it is, man. The Niners are going to pick who they're going to pick. They're not going to listen to me, obviously. They're not going to listen to Aaron.
Kyle said that they don't have an anti-offensive lineman thing going on with the draft.
Yeah. And who was, I forgot the guy, Tariq Ahmed, one of the main directors of player scouting or whatever. He said something like, oh, well, in order to be a 49er offensive lineman, those players have to have a certain amount of intelligence. And he was kind of like saying that, like, oh, the guys, the tackles coming out in the first round weren't smart enough to be 49er players or something ridiculous like that. Like, come on, dude. It's not rocket science here.
I mean, it's a pretty complicated. It is quite a complicated offense, though. I mean, it's not. This isn't the Dallas Cowboys of the early 90s where they just handed it to Emmett and ran forward.
Yeah, that was a pretty straightforward, just maul the guy in front of you type of offense.
They had the biggest offensive line in the NFL by far. This is a lot more complicated, a lot more moving parts. The Niners like guys that can move. Like Trent Williams, for his size, he's very nimble. You know what I mean? Aaron Banks, for his size, pretty nimble. You can't just be a blocker and that's it. You have to be able to, pass protect. You have to be able to move, get out in the run game, all that stuff. So you're right. If all those tackles are getting drafted, are you really going to reach at the end of the first round and get the last guy available? I mean, to me, that's a reach. So in a way, they did the right thing by picking Pearsall in that spot. If they would have reached and got a tackle, and a lot of people have been like, man, he's like one of the worst in the draft, they should have traded up. Maybe they didn't feel as that conviction of trading up in the draft for an offensive lineman. But one of the last things I want to touch on before we go is there was a tweet from Bill Barnwell of ESPN. He says that Brock Purdy could be in line for a 5-year extension worth we talked about this for stream, $325 million in total, $65 million per season. Your thoughts, Bash?
But before I get into that, I want to touch on one thing really quick.
All right, go ahead.
So far in reading the notes that I've read from camp, the 2 days in camp, I've heard nothing about the guard that we drafted, Dominic Pooney. Whether good or bad, I just haven't seen his name. I don't know if you've seen anything or if anybody in the chat knows of anything or whatever. But I'm going to be watching that, keep my eye on him. And I'm disappointed because I thought we drafted a guy that was supposed to be a tackle, but he's a tackle in college, and then gets to NFL. They're like, no, his arms are too short. Don't play him a tackle. Like, well, I say, hey, give him a shot. You never know. He could be better than the guy we already have there now. So, but that's it. I mean, back to Purdy again. Yeah, well, he's about to make $325 million over the span of 5 years, which was crazy. I'll say this, man. I mean, hats off to him though. Like he could have easily came into this camp and started knocking on Kyle's door, John's door, and said, "Hey, I'm not going to get on this practice field until I get this contract extension now. I want to get paid now." And he could have easily thrown a fit and done that. Not sure if he had any leverage to do so or not, but theoretically maybe he could have. But he's been balling, and we all know this. I'm preaching to the choir if you guys already know this, but obviously there's some Niner fans that don't know it, and I kind of do have to say it, and they get mad at me for saying it. He's been a baller, man, and the guy's been. If anybody, I mean, in his draft class, easily the best quarterback. I don't care about that Trevor Lawrence hype. I do not care about Trevor Lawrence at all. Wasn't that bit high on him coming out to begin with. Never was. We all know what's going on with Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson. I don't need to get into that, obviously, but yeah, and Purdy is the best quarterback in that whole draft class. That's it. He deserves to get paid. I see excellent things happening for him in the future. I'm really happy we got him. But he's an awesome kid. Just got married. Congratulations to him. And, hey, man, pay him whatever he deserves, man.
John V, when you say he's a stooge, who are you referring to? There's a lot of those on the YouTube community.
I think he was. I think he was talking about the head. I could be wrong. He can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think he was when I mentioned the director of player scouting for the 49ers. I think he might have been mentioning that.
Okay,
John, if you're still here, you can clear that up.
And then John also says pay him and referring to Purdy. Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. There's still people running with the narrative that he's not the guy. We all know what happened. Yes, Bash, he agreed. That's what he was saying. Okay, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. People just, especially late in the year, anybody who's worth a damn on the content creator community who gets massive views, everybody was running with the, he's not the guy, and still kind of holding on to Trey Lance's jock, so to speak. I just don't know when that's going to go away. I don't know if Purdy has to win a Super Bowl, but I don't even think that's the key or the case, because I think even if he wins a Super Bowl, they're not going to give him any kudos. They're just going to say he's got a bunch of
he's got the weapons and the coach and the defense and the water boy. He's got the best water boy in the league. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we got people rating CJ Stroud already ahead of him, mainly because he's got all the physical tools. And people are so wowed by massive arms and guys that can chuck the rock, but yet those guys in a big game with pressure on, when they have to read the defenses and call protections, can't play worth a damn. It's like the pretty girl with a really bad personality. Like she was stacked and just has this great body, 10 out of 10, but is dumber than a freaking bag of rocks. And the guys just always fall for it. It's the same thing. No offense to pretty ladies. I'm just
Yeah. There's tons of them watching, of course, for good reason, right?
where
We're in front of the
yeah.
camera. Yeah.
But yeah, to me with Purdy, it's just a matter of, he's the perfect guy for this system. He's the first quarterback I think that we've witnessed with Kyle Shanahan where Kyle looks at ease when he's on the field for the most part. Back when Jimmy was here, Kyle did so much to make that man look like a NFL quarterback, and without that protection, we saw what happened. But I think Purdy's worth it. I think he's going to have another strong season. He may take a step back a little bit. This team might take a step back this year because it's really hard to do what they did last year and not win. So, there's a lot of teams getting better around us. Detroit, Green Bay. One thing I want to bring up that I didn't have as a topic that I thought was really, really ridiculous is that the NFL or the ESPN and all these guys are now they're talking about Aaron Love or Jordan Love now being like this, and the Packers being this storybook team now that they're going to make a run for the Super Bowl and that Jordan Love has arrived. I thought Jordan Love was pretty pedestrian until the second half of last season. Didn't you have the same kind of until the second half of last year? What was Jordan Love?
Honestly, I never even thought of Jordan Love at all until he played us. I think he probably played the best game of his career against us. I can't think of a better game that he played.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was saying that I didn't really think much of Jordan Love until he played us. I mean, maybe I underestimated him, but correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody wants to, I just think that was probably the best game of his career against us. He looked really good against us, but I don't recall him looking that good during the season.
No, and it's funny how everybody's a prisoner of the moment. Every year, the same players get all the same hype. And at the end of the year, whether we like it or not, it's been the same guy, the guy that sounds like Kermit that plays for the Chiefs. Everybody tries to write them off every year. They were doing it last year. And I told my brother, I said, I swear to God, they're going to be in the Super Bowl this year. And they were. And I'm sorry that I was prophesying that, but it's just, I'm not even ready. It's so hard to make a prediction on what the season's going to be because, one guy gets hurt on a team that is a really valuable player and then it changes everything. Like Jordan Love goes down, then their season's down the toilet. Jared Goff goes down, that their season's down the toilet, or Emron St. Brown or something like that. So it's just fitting that the Niners once again are getting overlooked, and let it be that way. Let us sneak up on people again this coming year. I don't think that's going to happen. John V says the Packers are the sweetheart team for some reason. Yeah, I found it weird that they were just like, ooh, ah, like all over them and talking about Jordan Love and how he needs to get paid and how he shouldn't show up. And based on what? Based on what? Up until the second half of last year, I didn't see it. And then he also says their division is dog water. Yeah, of course. What are they in the NFC North or South?
NFC North.
That's Packers,
Chicago Bears, Vikings, Lions. They used to call it the black and blue division back in the day.
Yeah,
because it was so tough of a division. So.
Well, it's got two really good teams and I don't think the Bears are going to be anything this year. It's so early. It's too early to tell. There's no way.
I mean, if the Lions keep it up, I mean, they should be something, but we'll see.
They're looking for revenge. We beat them. We stole that game from them. We stole that game from Green Bay too. So both of those teams, hopefully they beat up on each other and only one of them can face us in the playoffs and we beat them again. So, but it's literally July 25th. There's so much time and so many things that can go wrong and bad that can happen between now and July, the first game in September. So I'm just happy that football's back. I'm like you. I'm still kind of coming out of hibernation. Our schedule for how we're going to be streaming eventually will be set, and we'll come to you guys Probably every Monday, unless the Niners are playing, and then we might either go on the day after, or who knows, then we'll go on the day before. But me and Bash will be streaming once a week, every week, unless one of us can't make it or we're sick or something. So I'm looking forward to that. Any other closing thoughts you have, Bash, with this team or anything you want to do on your channel going forward?
I'm going to be going live with John V pretty soon. Actually, we do have that in the works. We don't have a day set, but
Nice.
if you're not subscribed to my channel, you can subscribe to my channel if you want to know when to catch me. And I usually announce it on the community tab on my page when the next time I'm going live is, or you can go on my 49er Facebook page or even my 49er Twitter. You can follow me at 49er Minded and find out what's going on with my channel. I've been pretty dead on my Twitter page as of late, but again, I've been hibernating this off season, but things will be back up and running very, very soon. And yeah, definitely the streams are definitely coming. I come on this channel a lot, but you definitely see me on my channel a whole lot more very soon.
Yeah, check out him and John V. John V is a really passionate 49ers fan that I enjoy watching him and Bashar. I've been in streams with them. I think we've been in a stream together in the past, and that was fun. I'm pretty psychotic, but John V is pretty passionate himself too. So it's nice to when you don't feel like you're the only one who's like pounding the table about something, especially if you're pissed off in something that's going on with the Niners or another team or something. So yeah, we'll hopefully see you guys on a regular. I would assume we're probably going to do something. We'll try to do something next week as well.
Yeah, definitely should be an interesting week of practice. The pads are coming on, so
maybe we'll get some signings and we'll have all that to talk about. Maybe the Niners. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot to be discussed, but there's still a lot of training camp stuff that has to happen. So everybody, thanks for coming through, especially on Twitter. If you watched us, we appreciate it. Me and Bashar, 49er Minded. We will see you again when we see you, hopefully next week. And until then, stay safe, healthy. Go Niners, and we'll talk to you later.
Go Niners. Let's go.